Hello everyone. Hello everyone. Thank you very much for joining us, and also big thanks to ECSO for the amazing event. It's hot. It's really hot in here, but it's beyond your control. But you're seeing all these people, colleagues. I'm happy to say that it's my second time in Brussels. I already have some colleagues and friends, and there are some good cooperations and ideas here. So I'm really happy to invite you at our side event in the coolest room at the venue, because I heard that you had, when you realized how hot it will be in Brussels. I'm not jealous about organizing this, but you did really well, so really appreciate this. Hey, hello, I'm Paweł Słoń, Cooperation Manager of the Cybersecurity Center of the AGH University of Krakow. We are the leaders of the SOC4 project, Security Operations Center for East European region. This is the project that Isabella has been talking a lot at her keynote speech. So I don't want to repeat myself, but this is the idea of building cyber resilient universities in academia. The acronym SOC4 has nothing to do with soccer or football, although we are all watching football games until late night. I hope you watch and support Morocco. They did an amazing job against Haiti. I'm so sorry. But anyways, playing around the name of soccer, we would like to have two sessions. First, the whole session is about how we play together. And the first panel will be about why do we need to play together, whereas the second one will be how we play together, about the practical aspects of implementing cybersecurity measures. We have NIS2, we have everything, but how do we do it in practical way? So without a further ado, I would pass the mic to our first moderator, Maciej Zdanowicz, NCBR office in Brussels, our friend who really helped us a lot in here. So Maciej, over to you. And yeah, have a good discussion and yeah. Oh, I think, Joanna, you were supposed to say something at the very beginning.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you so much for adopting me to the coolest room ever. It was much needed, and I'm really grateful for this opportunity and excuse to be here, but jokes aside, of course, to be with you. When Paweł reached out to me and he said, hey, Joanna, why don't you come over and just say a few words at the beginning, I was super happy, over the moon, really, because of a couple of reasons. One of them is the fact that when I looked at the title of the session, and when of course, I know SOC4 project very well. So when I was thinking about it in my mind, what you do in here, not only today, but in general, reflects the spirit of ECSO in essence. What do I mean by that? Obviously, for this particular session, but also for the project, you come together as a community. You know that ECSO is composed of multiple different stakeholders representing different cybersecurity profiles. So we do have, of course, large companies, medium-sized enterprises, so on and so forth, but RTOs and universities truly sit at the heart of everything that we do. ECSO was created in order to support the identification for research and innovation priorities linked with the EU funding. So we have in the room ECSO founders and people who have been with the organization since the beginning. So I do remember that this is exactly what ECSO was doing at the beginning of its existence. We continue, and it's absolutely wonderful to see you in this room having this session, talking not only about what is at the heart of challenges standing in front of the academia, but also speaking about the collaboration. And that brings me back to the second element that I wanted to point out. That's something that, in my view, reflects ECSO. We are here to work with each other, to collaborate, to network, to carry on important tasks together. And I think that this is exactly what is happening within the SOC4 project, but also in this room here today. Last thing that I wanted to mention, and again, something that I find close to our, let's say, heart, is the fact that you are talking about absolutely unique topic, out of the box thinking when you are thinking about the content, when you're reflecting about the merits of the discussion that you will have. Really, I have to say that this is first time ever when I actually witnessed universities thinking about the security of their own work and the way that there must be a way to combine seemingly, let's say, contradictory concepts, openness and security within the research area. So kudos for capturing super important topic. Thank you so much for the spirit behind this session and behind the project. I am also very happy to see so many ECSO members in the room. So I hope that because of that particular meeting, you're going to build a lot of friendships and partnerships. And ECSO is here to help. And thank you so much for being with us and also giving me this opportunity to speak. Thank you.
So time is for my presentation. So I will introduce shortly myself. Good afternoon to everyone. I'm Maciej Zdanowicz. I'm EU Policy Advisor at the Polish National Center for Research and Development. And this is representation in Brussels. And I will have a great pleasure to moderate the first panel discussion. But before that, I wanted to say happy anniversary to ECSO, as it's like really important to repeat it constantly, as like it's a 10th anniversary. It's a great job. So, but I'm ECSO Secretary General, Joanna, and I would like to express my sincere thanks that for your work, presence, and I wanted also to congratulate Isabella Albrecht, Director, Cybersecurity Center, AGH, University of Krakow, because it's showing that this is really important topic, and your work is and your daily performance is really important. It's like giving like the best example why this issue is important in Poland, and your achievements are also really important to show that like the excellence is present across the EU, and we are ready to play a really important role, and we'll discuss it that a bit further. So today I will moderate the first panel discussion, name why we do play together. It's going to be about strategic perspective on research and innovation security. And during this panel discussion, we'll explore the key challenges related to the security of research and development in an increasing complex geopolitical and technological environment. And attention will be given to the universities and research institutions, which is really close to my domain, but we're trying also to build the bridges with the business representatives. The research institutes and the universities are the soul of the innovation and research, and gave a lot of really important breakthroughs that we can experience every day. And today we'll discuss how the universities and research institutions operate at this intersection of openness, international cooperation, protection of sensitive knowledge, but there's even more safeguarding intellectual property, managing foreign influence, and research partners balancing academic freedom with security requirements. That's already a lot. But the cherry on the cake is compliance with the EU regulation and the national regulations. Also challenging. So together with the panelists, we'll reflect on that, how institutions can integrate research security, their overall governance and strategy without undermining innovation and international cooperation within the. So with that, I have a great pleasure to welcome the panelists and take your seats. So let me introduce the first panelist, Professor Jean Peters, University Bretagne Sud, Chair Cyber at Souveraineté Numérique, France. I would like to also welcome Mr. Philippe Massinet, Scientific Coordinator, TETIC. And I would like to also welcome the third panelist that is joining us online, I believe, and will be present on the screen. So let me welcome Mr. Matej Simalczyk, Executive Director, Central European Institute of Asian Studies. And with that, I'm happy that you join us for the discussion. And also we're sending the greetings to the participants online. And I would like to ask the first question. And I will address the first question to Mr. Peters, University of Bretagne Sud. Could you introduce your institution, your role, and to better to give the broader background for further exchanges? And I will.
So I'm a university professor and my field is linguistics. It has nothing to do with cybersecurity, but I was the president of my university for 2 terms. So I was in charge of cybersecurity. And at the moment I'm running 3 projects dealing with cybersecurity. So my job is to get people, experts, to work on mainly research and academic teaching programs in cybersecurity. So my university now, which is a member of ECSO, which has been for quite a few years now, thank you, ECSO. All right, is a university. We started our first program in 2013. At the time, we had 1 researcher, no students. Nobody was interested at the time, and then there were white papers in France and so on. It became big, etc. And at the moment, we've got about 600 students, 8 programs, researchers, 30-ish researchers, as many PhD students, and a lot of connections with companies, with the, let's say, the also state agencies, right? So we're quite involved in and committed also to the cybersecurity ecosystem.
Thank you. So now turning to the direction of Mr. Massenet, could you introduce yourself and your institution?
So hi, so I'm scientific coordinator at CETIC. CETIC is an applied research center in ICT located in Belgium near Charleroi in Mously. We're about 50 people, but we're currently merging into a larger entity where we'll be 250 or 300 people. So as a research center, we have, to summarize, 2 types of projects. We have projects, research projects, where we work on general problems, okay? And then we have, that's about 70% of our funding, and 30% of our funding are contracts with companies to solve specific problems. So in terms of security, when we work for specific companies, of course, they're NDAs, they're contracts that stipulate how you need to, the type of secure environment you especially if there's confidential data being, accessed. For the public research, there are less constraints, okay? I will just mention, so we've done a big initiative in cybersecurity in the region, where we have a number of cybersecurity projects, and one large one called Cyber Excellence, which is funding about 30, 35, 40 PhD students in cybersecurity. When we set up the project, we were briefed on how to secure the infrastructure by the government, the regional government. So we had a briefing there. And also when we had all the research hired, there was a briefing from the Belgian security services on, good practice, especially when you're traveling abroad. And they showed a video in the hotel room. So when you have the room service, and if you left your laptop, of course, there was a copy of, there were not just, people to clean the rooms. There were people who came and looked everywhere and copied the hard disk. And okay, it was just to warn these young people to be careful when they go abroad.
Thank you very much. So now I would like to ask Mr. Simalczyk to introduce yourself. Please introduce yourself and the institution. That's right.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you can hear me all right, and it's a pleasure.
Hear you well.
Yeah, that's great, and a pleasure to join you at least online. My name is Maciej Simalczyk. I'm the executive director at the Central European Institute of Asian Studies. We're a think tank based in Slovakia, Austria, and Czech Republic. As the name suggests, we analyze relations between the EU and the Indo-Pacific region with focus on several different topics. One of the key issues that we are looking at is geoeconomics and technology and how they impact our relations with the Indo-Pacific region. As part of this topic, we are looking also at research security, especially when it comes to collaborations with researchers from the People's Republic of China. And as part of this research for the past few years, we've been running the initiative called China-Europe Academic Engagement Tracker, where we are collecting data about what kind of cooperation European universities and research centers have going on with partners from China, so that we are better able to work on policy making in the research security area that's data-driven and empirically driven.
Thank you very much. So now it's time for the first question. So Mr. Peters, I wanted to ask you, what are the biggest threats, according to your experience, to the security of research and innovation in the current geopolitical, technological, and political environment? And why we as academic institutions should respond to that?
Well, we had an excellent presentation this morning by Isabella Albrecht, and she said it all. So I mean, I can only repeat what I say. So it's true. It's true. I mean, you summed up all your work, but I mean, it's university, well, academia, let's say, is open, and that's how we operate. At the same time, we produce technology, we produce innovation, and this can be used for malicious purposes. Okay. So this is a big problem for universities. At the same time, we also run infrastructures, and they can be attacked. So it's stopping us from just operating, but also endangering the, because we're connected like a bit, endangering the whole system in front. So this is a real threat to what we produce and the way, and also to our networks. So this is a big challenge. I mean, you mentioned stealing results, accessing technologies before they're patented, which is a big thing, acquiring know-how, and the same that I found in the French text, I mean, strengthening military arsenals of third countries. And this is also a big. So dual purpose contents, I mean, and very interestingly, the French government has a list of the sectors, not the sectors that you find. You will find, of course, IT. You'll find materials engineering. I mean, dual purposes, for instance, for 3D printers, just to make weapons. Since you find linguistics, which is my field. Okay, of course, you understand with information war. Okay, but you don't find history, you don't find literature, etc. So most, I say, academic sectors are concerned.
Thank you for this question. So now I wanted to ask the same question to Mr. Matsonet. I'm curious about your perspective on the biggest threats to the security of research and innovation.
I'll focus on just one sector, defense, essentially because there's a lot of funding going to defense now, so it's a big opportunity for research. And so I think it's important that the research institutions and research centers be able to cooperate with defense and provide a secure enough environment for this collaboration to happen. So currently in Belgium, Belgian defense has been tasked by the government to develop an industrial ecosystem, with Belgian defense. So this is ongoing, and I think one really issue is the issue of data. Okay, and actually wherever I go, getting access to real data is a real problem. I mean, you don't get access to real data. I mean, we're in a couple of Belgian defense projects, and we're using mostly synthetic data. That's close to the real data, but we don't have access to classified data or whatever. So, if you want closer collaboration with defense, you would have to have infrastructure where you could work on, more operational data. Yeah. And if you want to transfer results quicker, if we're talking about more agility, in getting research results into operation, I think universities and research centers should have secure enough infrastructure to work with defense.
Thank you very much. And we have, thanks to your vast experience, we have different examples of the threats. So now I'm curious about the biggest threats to the security of research and innovation. From your perspective, Mr. Simalci, could you share with us?
Absolutely. So my work focuses on China in the context of research security. So I will draw on these actor-specific risks that we see. Of course, when we are talking about research security, we often see that the discussion gets narrowed down into sort of as a subset of risks related to economic security, right? And that's where you have the discussion about risks coming from in terms of how it impacts European competitiveness if technologies get leaked from our research centers to China, where then they are commercialized rather than being commercialized within Europe. And also that's where also from the area of technology leakage comes the potential risks related to improving militarization of China and how they contribute to the buildup of China's military power, especially when it comes to collaborations with Chinese research institutions that we know have links to the People's Liberation Army. Secondly, to that, or extension of that, is also that some part of joint research that we see going on with China has potential for abuse in terms of being deployed for domestic surveillance and society control goals that China has. So think of research in the field of artificial intelligence, for example, where AI would be aiding in facial recognition, voice recognition. We know even of projects that have been described as a racial recognition and what that means for control of minority groups within China. What is often left out from the debate on research security, but is also equally important, is how to think of risks of research security in the fields of humanities and social science, where, of course, the risks look very different because we don't really need to talk about technology transfer. But there we see more risks related to interference into academic freedom, using joint collaborations for the spreading of FEMI, so as part of a hybrid warfare that China wages against the West, either individually or in collaboration with China. So think of problems like suppression of critical research on conditions within China, as we've seen only a few months ago. There's a debate in the UK where one of the universities was facing enormous pressures from Chinese security operatives in order to suppress publication of research on use of Uyghur forced labor in global supply chains, for example. So this is the second category of risks that I think is quite important to recognize. And related to that, as we are navigating the era of geopolitical competition with China, we do see that there's going to be bigger need to have enough expertise on modern China. And in this regard, we see a worrying trend that especially in smaller European states, fields of China studies and related research fields become increasingly dependent on funding from China, which in turn has impacts on quality of education in these fields and quality of future expertise on China that we will have within Europe, and our ability to rely on a quality analysis of China for the sake of foreign policy making.
Yeah, thank you for your intervention. It was really interesting. So following on that risk that you mentioned, I wanted to ask you, Mr. Peters, as you already highlighted that this risk of misuse of the research innovation is really important, and you already gave the example of what France is doing. I wanted to explore it a bit more. How is the research security organized at the national level in France? And what implication does this have to do for research and higher education institutions, such as your university?
Okay, now just before, of course, now France is a centralized state. It's important to remember that, okay? So what works in France may not work in a different country. The second thing, France has always had a full-scale army, and it's important. Security and defense are very important in France. Third thing is that universities, and mostly have public universities, are in France, they're called opérateurs de l'État, okay, operators of the state. That is, we are a branch, we're an emanation of the state. So attacking a university is by attacking the state. So this is very important. This infuses French mentality about what we do, okay? Researchers don't realize that, okay? But this is important when you're the president of a university. Now you have to be aware that you're in charge of a public body, of part of the public state, right? This is important. Now, the French state is centralized, so usually it's hierarchical. We have a chain of command, etc. Now, the French approach is like the EU's approach. I mean, I'm taking this from the Council recommendation of 2024, which is as open as possible, as closed as necessary. And this is important. You need academic collaboration, but you have to be careful. Okay? So you have to find a balance. Now, the French approach is dual, and it is important. It is dual. There's the contents, it's contents oriented, and it's systems oriented. Okay, and this leads to two approaches that have been running parallel for some time, now that have been brought together. Now, the contents oriented approach has to do with the knowledge that we provide, has to do with also the technologies that we contribute to, and all that we have. Okay, and there is a policy for that in France, and it started about 14 years ago, officially 14 years ago. So for 14 years now, we've been made aware, and we had to apply guidelines. Say in a few words about that. And we have the information systems approach in support of what we do. And there's also a policy for that at national level and also at local. So we have both at the same time because they're important. And in universities, they're not the same people who operate the two policies. They're under the director's guidance. Now, this comes all to or from the let's say the National Cybersecurity Agency. So even above that, but the National Cybersecurity Agency. Okay, and by law, each minister needs to have called a high official, or let's say tangible and intangible assets, scientific assets. And very recently, only 2 years ago or 4 years ago, a high official for information systems, only 4 years ago, only, right? So at national level, so each ministry, each department has an official in charge of this, of the policy for his own, or their own department. And this has implications at local level, where you need to have both also. 2 points of contact, 2 coordinators. For information systems, you need to have a CISO in universities now. Okay, and for the other side, the contents oriented, it's usually a researcher who's in charge of the different aspects which I mentioned. Okay. Now, come back to the contents approach now, which has been going on for about 14 years. One of the innovations that we had 14 years ago was, of course, the creation of this particular type of function mission, but also the creation of restricted areas within universities. Okay. If you have a department, for instance, in IT, because you know that it may be attacked, you need to create a restricted area, not all of the department. But this means that in this particular place, which is spatial, you will have certain equipment, but this means also that all people having access to this place, and even to the rest of the department, need to be vetted. Okay, so we need to provide a list of those people and have to be vetted nationally. Initially, 14 years ago, it was only for researchers. Now, since I think 2024, cleaners, students also have to be vetted. Okay, this means that if, for instance, we recruit a professor in computing and they're not vetted, this is a big problem. Can't even recruit. Or there may be an inquiry. So this restricted area has been in existence for 14 years, and even universities have asked for restricted areas to protect their own assets. Now, the other side is the technical side, which is important, and we've had this policy, I mean, for quite a long time, I mean, like other countries, but now we have a CISO, and we operate on those systems. I can say more, but
yeah,
I mean, you need.
we'll definitely continue this discussion. So, Mr. Masson, I wanted to ask you, as you mentioned, somehow the defense and dual use as a high-risk important areas, sectors that you have to work. So combining that with the cybersecurity, artificial intelligence development. So what's new risks to research security are created by the development of AI? Those examples, and how should research institutes respond to that?
So it's true. We are working, of course, with the AI and both ways. How to secure AI systems and how to use AI for security, cybersecurity functions. For the moment, it's mostly project per project. So, for example, if we have a project with a specific company and we have access to their real data, and a lot of recent work has been with large language models. So, of course, there are the kind of things we have to do is we only use local models. So it's in the contract, there's no way we can start sending data to a cloud-based LLM. So those are the kind of measures we have to deal with. Another example, and here it was pretty interesting. It was looked into federated learning. And the first case was on hospital data. So we were having access to real hospital data. And so there was a lot of work on how to secure federated learning. So identifying all the threats to federated learning and identifying countermeasures, such as, for example, using homomorphic encryption to do the communication and the processing of data in the cloud. So we've looked into some of these fairly advanced techniques, and now there's interest from defense in federated learning. So yeah, but for the moment, it's really project-based per project. We have to deal with the threats and what the customer, the kind of security he's expecting, and also it depends if we're working on real data or not.
But in your opinion, because there is a lot of claims that if we'll somehow limit it development, it might slow down the innovation and deployment. So it's a real risk, or it's like?
Yeah, it's a real risk. I think. I mean, these LLMs, the large language models, are mostly American or Chinese, and you don't know. These things are black boxes, so you don't know what they're doing. Yeah. So it's a real risk.
Yeah. I'm happy that you mentioned, because now I wanted to ask Mr. Simalczyk to continue the risk, global risk. Yesterday, I was participating in a really interesting discussion with Director of Future Networks, Thibaut Kleiner. We were discussing tech sovereignty package, and cybersecurity is part of it. And I was given the example how the research security could better understand what's the sovereignty and how to better raise awareness among the European companies. And Mr. Simalczyk, you mentioned the global competition. I also connected that it would help us to better govern the global cooperation instead of limiting the cooperation. So in that context, I wanted to ask you, is the EU current de-risking, as the tech sovereignty, it's among others one of the tools that's supposed to de-risk. So this approach in research and innovation is realistic, or does it risk exclusively limiting scientific collaboration?
So I think we still have in Europe quite a long way to go to fully implement research security and achieve its sort of end goal, right? Because I think we have to start with the end and defining what is the end goal for research security and then work backwards from it in terms of how we design it and deploy it. In my perspective, the end goal is making sure that we can actually cooperate as much as possible with external partners in a safe way that would not endanger our own security, right? So this is, I think, something we have to keep in mind when we are also looking into how research security is being implemented across Europe. So far, I would say that EU itself is a little bit later in this game. It's a latecomer. Many countries outside of EU started working on research security or knowledge security or whatever name you want to use for it a bit sooner, right? So if we look at countries like US, of course, but also Australia, UK, South Korea, for example, these countries are a little further along the way, I think, than us, which also means that we can learn from them, both in terms of what has been working, and also in terms of maybe the mistakes that they've done on their own research security journey, so that we can learn from them. Overall, I think we need to make sure that we communicate better this end goal, right? That our goal is to make sure that research security is to help our researchers to cooperate externally in a way that they themselves would be protected from potential risks to their own academic freedom, because still we see a lot of objections in the research community to research security, that this is something that's being done to detriment of their own ability to work on research, rather than in a way that would support their ability to do international research. And this is something I think that we need to stress to them more, that better research security can also improve their ability to cooperate. I'm currently working on a paper that's looking at these lessons learned from research security in the Pacific, like-minded partners for Europe. And one thing we've constantly heard was that what helps to sell the idea of research security and make sure that we implement it better is precisely this positive framing on research security as something that aids the researcher in their mission. We've seen that universities in Australia, in South Korea, for example, are able to actually attract more research funding to conduct classified research, to conduct commercial research, if they already have research security frameworks in place, right? So this creates real incentives for the scientists to improve. To sort of think of research security as something that should be inherently embedded in their approach to research, and ultimately benefiting them.
Yeah. To sum it up, I wanted to further ask you about which due diligence mechanism in research projects with Chinese partners have proven effective in practice. Could you give some positive examples? Or if they are negative, why they didn't work?
Sure. So, I mean, we need to start with this, right? Making sure that researchers understand the risks and better socializing them to the idea that China and cooperating with China doesn't offer only scientific opportunities, but that it carries real risks. Until researchers themselves get behind this notion, then implementation of any other mitigation measures that we might think of is that much more difficult, because of course a lot of cooperation happens through informal channels, informal contacts that individual scientists might be having with Chinese scientists. And if they don't embed this into their own thinking about how to navigate these relations, then everything else can have only secondary help. Overall, I think we need to think about this in a more holistic way. Of course, cybersecurity is one aspect of research security, but it is not the only aspect, right? We need to think about other risks and other ways how to mitigate risks. One of those would be, of course, due diligence of partners and making sure that we understand what kind of specific risks a specific partner might be posing, right? So we know that due to China's embedding of science into this sort of a civil-military fusion nexus, where prima facie civilian research is ultimately used for the benefit of the military-industrial complex, that this is something that can ultimately endanger our own scientists and the research they are working on, and contribute to China's militarization. So making sure that we understand what this partner looks like, what are their potential links to the state, to the military, or to the state security apparatus even. That's something that needs to be taken into account. Increasingly, what I see also in conversation with non-European like-minded partners is that they are also looking at cooperation with European universities as a potential source of secondary risk, simply because we are behind in terms of implementing research security in their perspective. So if, for example, a university in Canada, in Australia would want to work with a European university, they are looking at what kind of exposures our universities have to China, so that they are not open to secondary risks through cooperation, not with China directly, but precisely because their European partner might already be overexposed to China and might not be managing these risks properly. So a lot of this has to do with sensitizing people still to the risks, so that they actually comply with whatever measures are devised on the university level, ranging from just notifying that you plan to work with a partner in China, so that your research security officer can do the due diligence. The other thing is, of course, that even if we are looking at potentially risky partners, it also we must take into account that not all types of cooperations carry the same levels of risks, right? A cooperation in a high-risk area with a low-risk university can be, at the end of the day, more risky than cooperation with a high-risk partner in a low-risk area, right? So we need to really look at this on an ad hoc basis and evaluate each cooperation project individually through a set of different criteria.
Yeah, thank you. As we are running out of the time, I wanted to ask you the last question about the final recommendation. I really regret that we won't be able to, Mr. Simalczyk, continue this discussion with you here, but definitely we'll be interested to hear more. But I wanted to ask you, Mr. Peters, about the final recommendation. Based on that, what was said, the European Union has a great potential, great universities, vast resources, human and infrastructural. There is excellence across the EU, but as well as the very ambitious political agenda. So on the other, the challenges are visible, but what do we need? Better, more effective research, or more security, or you maybe have different recommendations based on your experience?
My recommendation has nothing to do with cybersecurity. It has to do with keeping your researchers in the EU. Because if you train experts who are then hired by your competitors, you're losing your advantage. So you have to find an instrument. Second is, how do you act to keep your startups with EU capital? If they're bought by, again, foreign companies, you're losing the war, okay? And it has to do, of course, with dual use technologies. It has to do with cybersecurity, but I mean, we're talking about competitiveness, right? So that is important.
Thank you a lot. So now I wanted to ask you, Mr. Massinen, what's your final recommendation?
So Yeah, I mean, there was this idea of having security requirements, more explicit. And it's true that when you look at the EU framework program, it's not just Europe, you have Canada that's part of the framework, you have South Korea, soon Japan. So I think securing research within the framework program is, a quality label and, made in EU, high quality. And so I think we should do something. So we could have security requirements per topic, for example, and ask consortia to have, we have data management plans. Well, you could have a security plan, as long as it's not too much overhead. But that this is something that could be, I think, reasonable to have a security plan in place for projects that have security risks.
Yeah. Thank you a lot. So now the final recommendation on your side, Mr. Simalchi, could you share your final recommendation with us?
Absolutely. So one problem that we see is that the research security policy across EU is still fragmented, right? Okay, we have the recommendations on the EU level. We have some research security embedded into Horizon as of beginning of this year. But are we looking at interoperable research security standards across member states, across different funding agencies? And the response to that is no. These policies are not yet interoperable. Scientists in different member states, scientists under different streams of funding are looking at having to comply with different research security obligations, and in some cases working under no research security obligations. And this creates a risk in and of itself. Okay, if we now have a research security in Horizon, excluding some specific Chinese universities from research in AI, for example, that's maybe a good step in the right direction. But if the national level funding agencies don't have similar standards in place, this just means that that research will not get funded through Horizon, but through national funding streams, essentially not removing the research security risk that was there in the first place.
Thank you a lot, and thank you to all of you for sharing with us all insights that are very valuable. And please give the big applause to the panelists. Thank you a lot, and as we are right on time, I'm passing the floor to Mrs. Small break.
Small break, yes? 5 minutes.
I think 4 more minutes, so 2:35 we're gonna come back and start the second panel. 4 more minutes so that we can grab the water, and then we kick off. Water is there as well. I brought you water. I know it's really hot in here, so 4 more minutes, 2:35, and we'll start. '35. So we had a very good discussion at the beginning about why do we have to secure universities. On the one hand, I love the thought that everything has been said. That's partially true, but then we said there is long way to go to do it because the discussions, and I also sometimes feel that we live in this cybersecurity bubble. We know what we are aware, but we are very often working in a big organizations, and we all know how it looks like in practice. So I would, without further ado, let's talk how we can implement cybersecurity at the universities. I leave the mic to one and only Isabella Albrecht, director of the Cybersecurity Center of the AGH University and my boss. So over to you. There is a bit of pressure, Yeah.
That field, and he is supporting us extensively. So thank you for that support. Ladies and gentlemen, so also without further ado, I would like to invite to the stage Professor Evangelos Markatos, Professor Sandro Etei, and Professor Angela Nikoara. We are still missing one panelist, so if another speaker will come, we will include him definitely, but we'll start already with you. And I'm not going to make any introduction because I think that the previous panel, but also the presentation that I gave during the conference was pretty much covering the, let's say, high-level discussion of the importance of research security and cybersecurity for research and innovation sector. So now we would like to discuss this topic in more practical terms, to have a bunch of recommendations that we can take with us and also popularize within our community, within ECSO, but also within the community that we are now building together with Paweł, which is European cybersecurity community for research, innovation, and education. And all universities across Europe are very welcome to join us. There are no obligations whatsoever, rather benefits in terms of know-how, in terms of knowledge, information sharing about threats and so on. But we are also within the SOC4 project and also familiar face from the consortium. Hello. We are also building tools to share cyber threat intelligence. For instance, we also developed certain curricula for cybersecurity trainings, and this is also something that we would like to share with scientific community. But the question is, what else can we do? And I would start with a question to all of you. The research security has become the strategic concern now for governments, universities, also funding agencies, national, but also European one. So the question is, what should be the top priorities in your understanding for strengthening research security across Europe in the years ahead of us? So basically, what is the most important thing for our community? And I will start. We are all professors, so if I may, I will call you Professor Evangelos.
Okay. Another mic. Okay. Can you hear me now? Yeah. Okay, great. So I guess that the most important thing that we are missing today, I think, is funding. I mean, we have policies, we have some tools, but in order to implement the policies and to deploy the tools and to use the tools, you need funding in order to train people, in order maybe to rent or to purchase the tools. And usually universities and research centers do not have a lot of funding because, they're not out there in the market. They don't sell products, they don't sell services, so they don't receive a lot of funding. So I think funding is the #1 issue that we should be focusing in order to implement that. I have a #2, but I'll say it later. So
No, go ahead with that.
No, go ahead. So yeah.
Because I was about to say funding as well. I mean, clearly to reinforce cybersecurity research, what you need is more people. Has to be. I think there should be also some guidance, yes, how to use that funding, because if you just throw funding at universities, then what happens is that we are all going to stay in our comfort zone and keep doing a lot of things we love doing and we are very good at. But cybersecurity requires getting out of the comfort zone and and embracing new technologies, embracing new problems, et cetera, et cetera. So I think there has to be, and it's very difficult. Here, there's a tension. There's a big tension because, on one hand, the cybersecurity professors are very. They have a strong ego and they have strong ideas about what they need to do, and they know better. They know everything better. I'm a cybersecurity professor myself, and I know everything better. But I understand that this has some drawbacks when it comes to, well, we need to some extent, we need to do certain things altogether, and then so some moderate guidance, I think it would be, but a wise one.
Can you hear me? Yes. All right. So hello everyone. Thank you very much, Isabella, for inviting me. It's an honor and great pleasure to be here.
Thank you for accepting.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to share with you. So I come from beautiful Switzerland, and happy to share with you some experiences regarding this specific question. And so, one of the things that I have seen in our universities and also in the country is funding is a very important topic, and there are a lot of discussions behind this. There are a lot of core, delegations and things to talk about how we can get funding for cybersecurity and protecting and so on. So this is definitely extremely important. The other part is I see more in Switzerland is more and more initiatives, and there are more cybersecurity centers that are going to be created, more and more initiative for proposals, what actually will be this funding for. And so that is the moment where it is coming about protecting the different cantons, protecting a national level, university level, and so on. And these are very, very hot topics, like how we can actually make this cybersecurity in platforms and protection at the national level, international level, and also important European sovereignty level. And that's very.
I can a bit elaborate on the funding priority and the guidelines particularly. Do you think that would be a good idea to combine that with a support for the European cybersecurity industry and having universities be more involved in the business with cybersecurity companies and implement European solutions while they will build the European-wide cybersecurity architecture in R&D and I sector?
Again? Okay. Yes, of course. This is a great idea, and I think in Horizon Europe, universities collaborate with companies to develop, say, common, not actually product, but common prototypes. And those prototypes eventually may find their way to the market. So collaboration between industry and academia is a great idea, and we should continue that. Yes, definitely.
I agree. There are however, so in the Netherlands, for instance, there are some caveats here. In the Netherlands, they're trying to have the following rule that project would be sponsored only from the NWO, only if there would be a matching from the industry. And on one hand, I made a company, I have my startups from the university, so I had lots of connection with the industry world. So for me, it was absolutely no problem to get the funding and get the matching. And I think it's a great idea. But I saw also a lot of valuable research that was having trouble in getting the matching, getting the link with the. So I personally, I would say yes, but I know there are lots of very good researchers that would have troubles doing that step because for the industry, security in general, the big problem with security is that it's usually not useful. I mean, you don't save money by adding security. So it's not that they put a couple of €100,000 to do a project because they eventually
rather
save some money.
Not an investment.
So I say yes, but it's not a clear-cut thing.
From my side of point of view, first of all, just to give a very brief context, I am a professor in applied university in Switzerland, and I am collaborating strongly with industry partners. Very ambitious collaborations as well, national and international. And in my career, I come with over 25 years of experience by now, and I have been in America and Silicon Valley as well. And I would like to mention one point important that the colleague mentioned here related to that, and then going forward to the next. Security in general, in the large companies, also I have seen in Intel and other major companies, it's basically the point was that security is provided, is normally like a standard security level, but is not. It was not like it's like an add-on, not necessarily by design from the beginning. And then when all these incidents come and all these problems come, then the level of security is increased and discussed about and so on. So I totally agree that security at the beginning it's like an investment, level of investment, but serious security level is taken in consideration on another level when some major security attacks or some specific actions come. The other part was related with your question, Isabella, for the collaboration and security involvement. I see first companies when collaborate with us, with universities on research, definitely the funding comes when the needs come from industry and these partnerships are there and you define and you have this funding coming together. But there are also now more and more initiatives that come top down. Basically, for example, cybersecurity is an extremely hot topic, and specific cantons or the national level, they open these opportunities to fund these security centers, and which then they have a very strong interest to collaborate with universities. And I'm currently in this kind of strong collaboration with the cantons and supporting the cantons through this and this is where the funding. And the other part is they are, of course, very interested to have a European level collaboration and trust between these. And that is the opportunity where we can actually, as experts can actually bring these opportunities to Switzerland or other countries to actually collaborate together. And I'm extremely excited to share with you an opportunity we started with ECSO, a partnership with multiple countries in this ecosystem, and that's one of the targets, how we can work together and build together such a powerful platform that we can collaborate. Share with you now. Thank you, Isa.
Thank you very much. You said an important thing that cybersecurity by design is very important and even crucial. And with that, I'm thinking about the cybersecurity of concrete projects. And this question will be addressed particularly to Professor Evangelos, how to translate the need of research security to concrete projects, including the procedures, risk controls, without undermining scientific collaboration and innovation. It was also discussed before our panel, the first part actually, but I would like to hear about your experience.
Yes. Yeah, thanks. This is a very important topic. My feeling is that we need something like an advisory office or an advisory hub at universities. So researchers who don't know how to implement the policies and how to be compliant, they don't know where to turn to. If they have a local office where they can ask questions, or even better, they can get ready-made documents like policies, procedures, processes, what they need to do, what they need to follow in order to be compliant, it will be very easy for them, or much easier than it is today. I would like to underline another thing as well. Universities are completely different than, say, private companies. Private companies usually have employees. The employees have contracts, and they sign the contracts, and they have legal statements there. Universities are a more open environment. They do have employees, but at the same time, they have visitors, they have students, they have conferences, things like that. So it's a more open environment, and the more open the environment is, it is more difficult to secure it. So it's not impossible, but it's more difficult than a traditional company where there is a guard at the door and they don't let people in. Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and Professor Sandro, on openness, actually, or
Yeah,
you would like to make this remark also on the concrete project, then please go ahead.
That's a tough one, because I mean, in my case, I was head of the security group. I'm the founder of the security group at the TU Eindhoven. I've been head of the security group until a couple of years ago, 1 year ago, actually. And then I had my own policy. So companies from China, I mean, I didn't accept them as partners. And for some nations, some PhD from some nations, they could not access to some data. But you, on one hand, you don't want that. You want to cooperate with everyone that is interested in the research. And on the other hand, nowadays you cannot do that any longer. On the other, and by the way, so I have my own policy. So try to find a good divide between being interesting as research for the national and the European context, and on the other hand being as open as it could be. On the other side of on the same floor, there's the crypto group, and the crypto group led by Tanya Lange, fantastic professor, but she would refuse to do anything that has any boundary. So it's getting that well. It's tough, but yes, I agree. It would be. I would very much like to have a project development office and a PDO office that would tell me, okay, here's the guidelines, and these are the partners that are good partners. These are the partners I cannot work with, et cetera, et cetera. That would help us with that, because everyone is on our own at this moment.
And Eindhoven University is well known for the very innovative approach, support for spin-offs, innovative projects, and so on. The question would be, how can universities manage cybersecurity risk without creating barriers to innovation, entrepreneurship, and international collaboration? So more on how.
You can. I mean, there's a certain limit you can reach, and then the moment you put a barrier to avoid a certain risk, well, you cannot go beyond that barrier. But let's face it, we have a lot in Europe. We don't need money from Chinese companies. Sorry, nothing as Chinese company, but it's, I mean, we're in this social political situation in which we need to build a strong Europe. Digital sovereignty is important, etc. And Europe is big. Europe has a lot of talent, has a lot of money. So let's face it, if we manage some risk by putting some boundaries, we are not really blocking ourselves from doing good research.
And Professor Angela, if I may call you that way, let's talk a little bit more on how to build a culture security, because very often cybersecurity trainings or this kind of cyber awareness meetings and all procedures behind the research security are perceived as a bureaucratic red tape. So how to convince researchers and university leadership to actually take it as a necessary step in a way that they will integrate those concrete measures and treat it, and it will become a culture. So how to build a cybersecurity culture in the university, in your opinion?
Thank you, Isabella. It's a very important question, and I have seen this in our day-to-day experience and working with all the partners and researchers and so on. I think what I see as of today is that everyone, take it as security as a you need to comply and with this and this, and then it's a bit of standard process, right? With following and like one click on this or all those things. But what I think is very, very important from a researcher side and also day-to-day thing for the employees is to bring this in a from compliance to more enhancement researchers. And in that perspective, more, let's say, for example, providing aware that actually these security measures are for their own interest, protecting their data, their IPs, our data, our collaboration and so on, our reputation, not necessarily to comply to some specific rules and specific things. And then they say, okay, we do it and that's it. The other part of it is how you integrate this into their own day-to-day work and their own day-to-day efforts. And so one way to do this is, I feel, it's by providing specific, tools, for example, even specific simulation tools, for example. What would be the impact if you have data leakages issues, ransomware attacks, and all of this? Basically making them aware of this into more specific, concrete, practical that allows them to see this. On the other aspect, I see very, very important one point that Professor Vangelos mentioned briefly. I think from research perspective, it's very important to have an expert as a contact person where if something is done, just to have, for example, when something has been designed, or is it secure enough with specific resources, asking for some standard, architecture security guidelines or some specific things that they can follow, that they can know, and these are stable and robust, and things are very, very important. And not only just do it by themselves, but being someone up there to them and not act like, hey, I'm afraid to ask, or because destroy our reputation or something, but having the researchers act as a pre-identifying challenges, security issues, where they can actually provide their feedback and provide their questions. And this is helping us to actually know how to protect better our systems.
I thought some building cybersecurity culture also from the perspective of your universities.
I guess the number one way to build a culture is awareness. If people are not aware of a problem, probably they'll not try to address the problem. That is, if you're not aware that hackers exist out there, probably you'll not do anything about them. Let me give you an example. If you're not aware that hackers use phishing email to get your bank details, probably when you receive a phishing email, you're going to give your details. So I think the number one thing is awareness, and awareness helps people understand the extent of the problem. And once they understand the extent of the problem, they'll try to solve the problem or contribute towards the solution. Exactly what you were saying earlier. Yeah.
I think like that SOC awareness campaign have been introduced to your universities in recent months, because so many universities have been recently hacked, and we know those stories from media. But does this information is spread around universities on the daily basis to researchers, to students? Does leadership is putting that on the spot? How does it work in your?
We do awareness, but there's more to be done. We do awareness about phishing, so that we let people know that there are phishing emails and what kind of phishing emails circulate out there. And we do awareness about ransomware. Be careful about ransomware. But what I'm talking is about much more than emails about phishing and ransomware. People understanding the real extent of the problem. Emails about phishing and ransomware is the first step, but there are more steps to be taken.
Maybe any campaign from the national on the national level are addressed to actually tackle the research security topic in your countries at this moment?
I think the Netherlands is doing a lot in that sense. We have been having awareness campaign for years now. From that point of view, the Netherlands was one of the first one to have a national cybersecurity center in Europe. And we are also one of the first to be hacked, by the way, at the University of Maastricht. So there's a lot of rumor. I think in terms of awareness, we are not doing bad, but I presume that in other nations, more steps need to be taken. But awareness is indeed one of the key aspects. We have continuous trials, phishing email. If you click on the wrong thing, then you have to go and do a certain course. And etc. It's high on the agenda at the management of the university, my university in the case.
Very much. And the question to all of you on cooperation. We already said that, but effective research security depends not only on those internal controls, but also on cooperation. So what practical mechanism should be established to enable trusted information sharing between universities, funding agencies, government bodies, and institutional partners? And can cybersecurity offer useful models for research security, for example, through threat intelligence sharing platforms or trusted communities? Or sectoral security operation centers, coordinated incident response mechanisms. So anything you have in mind, please speak out. We will use it as a recommendations.
You're saying the dream world for me. So we at the university, after we did the exit with my startup Security Matters, I established together with the people, but it was my initiative, a security operations center at the university to have sharing of threat intelligence, sharing of information, doing research on the actual data, etc., etc., etc. And what happens is that it's very, very difficult to get to sharing threat intelligence with commercial parties or other university itself, because everyone has its own agenda. And then they see, so at the other university, well, thinks he wants to do it another way. And then we have some cooperation within the Netherlands because among other things, we have a very large Dutch project involving five different universities. And then we have established some secure way of sharing information to have a SOC that is a little bit distributed, and it takes an incredible amount of effort because people that are involved with this, when you come with something that is university-based, they go like, no, I want to do something else. So the theory is there. It's beautiful on paper. If you try to implement it really, then it's a pain in the neck. Sorry about that.
You go.
Obviously, sharing is an excellent idea. The problem with sharing is that people are very willing to receive information, but they're very reluctant to give information out there. That's the second part, which is the difficult problem. Now, how can you solve this problem? Usually you need a higher level, say, organization like the National Cybersecurity Agency or ECCC from the European Commission in order to implement this project under their auspices. So they will say, look, it's a good idea, go and share information. And share means give information, not only receive information. That's one way to solve it. But this is a real problem, yes.
Yeah, I also totally agree with the colleagues that mentioned here. I think this is a very big challenge, but I also see a very important aspect if the national or international effort to actually make such a common platform where the universities or partners are not afraid of actually sharing their experiences because they are afraid of sharing their affecting their reputation or any other issues that come. But basically also receive the information back. For example, if they have been attacked, all kind of guidance on that.
Of data sets about
yes.
the attacks on academia.
Yes.
Also because we don't have that many SOCs. So if we will have SOCs and we would like to share data, then we will also have a pool that might be used by innovators to build innovative solutions with AI models. We need to train those models on some kind of data. So
yes, exactly. And I think from the other side, like how to make the people aware of all these attacks and how it is, I think more and more, I see more and more efforts, and we are doing great. The employees are trained and they receive a lot of kind of trainings they have to do regularly and up to the full year. And there are different scenarios which are shared, but I totally agree with Evangelos. These are parts of this being awareness, but there are more other things that we could do related to collaborations, platforms, and many other aspects that are not addressed there. But yeah, I think there's still a lot to do, and I think support from European level for such a very, very valuable platform that everyone can learn and everyone can share. I think this would be extremely valuable. It's very difficult to make, but I think it's a great investment.
Started the panel discussion with a question on priorities. And to conclude, I have a very similar question, but it's limited to 20 months. So what is the must to each and every university in Europe in terms of building cybersecurity, which should be done within the next 12 months, in your opinion?
Okay. My
question.
Okay, my number one would have been to build that advisory office, advisory hub, but it has already been said, so I'm going to say something else. Maybe build a secure processing environment. And a secure processing environment would be a digital system that it is more secure than the rest of the university. And the data there will be secure. Maybe they'll be anonymized. Users will not be able to download data from there, but all the processing will happen there. Something like a secure processing environment where you can trust that it will be very difficult for hackers to penetrate and get the data, get the results of the processing, etc., etc. Something like that.
Yeah, I agree. And we need reasonable policies. So policies that on one hand, they allow us to do research without becoming crazy, signing things, etc. And on the other hand, they do safeguard the security. And this moment, again, we are much on our own and on reinventing the wheel every time that we have to do a new project. Also because it's with different partners, and every partner has different policies, etc., etc. So it's not easy.
Right. From my side point of view, what I see is if you look at the broader picture, let's say in the Europe side, I mean, there are universities that have more funding, more money, others which don't afford too much, and so on and so on. So there are multiple players with different power and investments, right? What I would see, I would take it gradually. I would say first step, what we could do maybe, I think, is to to give some concrete guidance or references to good architectures. What would mean, really architecture and design of different, in concrete guidance, what this means, how do you build it, what are the secure things that have been already measured, and so on, and so that others can implement it and not, like the colleague mentioned, restart the wheel from ground zero when effort would be built. So maybe that would be one of the efforts that could be reasonably implemented, approached by multiple partners with different funding and resources and support. And then from that point on, European platform and really ambition to create this effort and to build the ecosystem around it and have the leaders of Europe really seeing this value and bringing us all together. I think that's, my opinion, a matter of time if actually what values are brought to Europe and to any university behind.
Thank you very much. Yeah, in terms of guidelines, I would like to promote one more time our publication, SOC4Academia Toolbox. There are some concrete recommendations to universities how to approach Security Operations Center building, but first you need to have readiness and preparedness of the institution to deploy such institution or infrastructure. So I guess that some guidelines can be found there as well. So if you haven't seen that publication yet, you can download it from our website. And since we will not only conclude our panel discussion, but also the entire conference, I would like to also ask you what should I say to Secretary General on behalf of research and development sector in terms of how ECSO can support all our efforts in building research security in Europe. Maybe she will decide to support us and maybe we'll convince her to have a common approach towards that.
Yeah, maybe create an association of SOCs, like they have create an activity where all us who have a security operations center will come together and maybe find a way to share data and collaborate.
Good idea, thank you.
I agree with the Federation of SOC. I would be the first one, well, not probably, but one of the first to, we do have a SOC and we use it.
We also, so
okay.
we are the second.
So let's get in touch. Let's get in touch with that. I think also there is some benefit in trying to put some money in the early stage of spin-offs. I think in that phase of the postdoc that starts working on the real prototypes, that working on that
cybersecurity
for the cybersecurity part, and I think that's but the SOC is a great idea. I think
I like the second one as well. But
I totally agree with the suggestion from the colleagues, but I also want to mention I thank very much ECSO for and Ioana and the ECSO team for what they did so far for Europe, and they have been an incredible journey. And I had the privilege to work with them for I think the last 5 to 6 years. I've been extremely active with ECSO, and I really see extremely high value on their activities, on bringing us together and have the opportunity to build this ecosystem between different countries to actually build and build this collaboration and opportunities that can help Europe for the future. So I think the message is a strong thank you very much to ECSO. Thank you to Ioana. Congratulations for this 10 years anniversary, and contribute and to collaborate with all of you for future opportunities to strengthen Europe.
Thank you very much. Thank you to all participants and also participants online, because this is also a webinar. Yeah, so let's conclude with what Professor Angela said. Also with congratulations to organizers. We are very happy that we've become a platinum partner for this conference, and we are determined to push forward the recommendations and also the message to support research and development and innovation organizations in their way and efforts to build a cybersecurity environment. So thank you one more time. We are definitely in touch. Yeah, thank you.
I have nothing to add, really. I have nothing to add. So many thanks again to organizers. This event was brought to you by the Soccer Project, managed, lead by AGH University. Also thanks to our partners who join us. Thank you, Gular. Thank you, Pavel, for representing your universities and coming here. Many thanks to ECSO, amazing event. Many thanks to our dear panelists. We have hard copies of SOC4Academia Toolbox, so we will give it away later on. And now let's go back to our life and work at our universities. Firstly, we're gonna report the phishing that was sent allegedly from your iPhone, and then I'm gonna keep on sending emails to Polish universities that they shall join our MISP platform. So many thanks and lots of good luck to you, all of you, and thank you again. Thank you. And also big thanks to everyone who joined us online.